This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hello, welcome to episode 249 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafania.
Cody, just start off with some sad news that we found out yesterday. Past guest of the show, Jason David Frank, who of course was the Green Power Ranger, White Power Ranger, died. Result of suicide. Quite unfortunate. We had him on the show. It was over 8 years ago now.
One of our first interviews that we ever did.
I believe it was second only to Michael Rooker.
Mm-hmm.
That we actually like. Well, you did Jeff. Who was the guy?
Josh Robert Thompson.
Josh Robert Thompson. Yeah,
That's
Jeff
right.
the Robot is what I was.
Jeff
thinking
Peterson.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who you and I interviewed as part of Wizard World, which no longer exists.
Yeah. We interviewed him in a Mexican restaurant, I believe, right?
I was it the Hard Rock Cafe?
I thought it was a Mexican food place, but I don't know.
I don't remember where it was. It was Lou Ferrigno and Jason David Frank, and we called the episode "It's Not Easy Being Green."
Yeah.
And I don't remember what we talked about at all. I shared a link to the episode on my Twitter today. I do remember him being extraordinarily nice to us.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't really a fan. I was a fan.
Well, I was. It was in that zone where I was a huge fan when I was young, but it was it predated, my memory really.
Right. I mean, yeah, you're 10 years younger than I am, so it wasn't and I was a teenager, so I probably shouldn't have been a fan, but I was a fan of goofy stuff like that. I remember him being very nice, and what I posted this on Twitter too is he remembered us at the con because he came to the con. Or it was I came to the con. He's like, "Hey, remind me, and I'll post it on my Instagram."
Mm-hmm.
And he did, which was awesome. I don't know. I did mention seeing him at Big Texas Comic-Con a couple weeks ago. I was supposed to host his panel actually, and he just kind of breezed by and did his own thing. Notably different personality-wise than 8 years ago, clearly going through some sort of personal struggle that, apparently, not apparently, but, probably pretty clearly was the, showing itself, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
I mean, that was and that was, weeks ago.
It was literally Halloween weekend. It was literally 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which is nuts to think about. I mean, it just shows you how quickly these things can change. I mean, like I said, he was clearly in a different headspace this last time than when we saw him. And I don't want to speculate on anything, but
Yeah. But I mean, just one of those people who was again, a regular on those Comic-Con circuits who by all accounts was super generous to his fans and one of those people that you and I have talked about the reaction that a lot of people have at Comic-Cons about, how much seemingly random people mean to individuals. And this is a guy who probably never heard the end of how much he meant to his fans.
Oh yeah. And I don't know if you remember that Wizard World, all the merch that they sold was centered around him. He was the draw.
Yeah.
And I think he came to Alamo City Comic-Con a few years ago. I don't believe I was there. But then, like I said, he was at Big Texas Comic-Con just 3 weeks ago. And no end to people talking about what, this guy is outside of the people that they bring in, when Giancarlo Esposito is there, this is the guy that's the draw, because here is the guy who was the most popular Power Ranger and did it for years. Up until just a few years ago, he was guest starring on shows and signed some stuff for me. I got stuff back there in a case that he autographed for me. There's a white Power Ranger helmet over my head. There's a green one right somewhere over here. Oh, it's on top, but you can't see it. But I mean, it's huge for fandom. And, he was super generous, like you said, with his time. And even on social media, back when he was way more active on social media, he would do giveaways all the time. And it'd be like, hey, contact my assistant. And, you won. And just a real kind of tragic, eye-opening thing that, like, hey, this guy is... And from what I understand, very well-to-do. He had a very saw him driving a Maserati. Had a huge house in Houston. Clearly a throng of adoring fans, but obviously something else deeper going on in his life, which is no one gets to see that side, and it's unfortunate. Anyway. Bummer, but you can go listen to that episode now. I plan to re-listen to it at some point, just because it's nice remembering the guy was super nice to us and didn't have to be. Just two dipshits coming to him with a microphone, and I remember him we sat down to eat, and he walked by and patted me on the shoulder. Yeah. After we were done, I mean, just a nice guy. Yeah, it's been a tough week for.
And the other thing too that was cool about him that I remember very specifically is the selfie was his idea. Like we were recording the podcast. He's like, hey, let's take a picture together and I'll post it on my Instagram or whatever. Yeah. And so that picture that you reposted was from his phone. Like he took that picture and posted it on his own Instagram. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, just a. Super nice guy to us. Didn't have to be. I think his daughter was with him. His daughter, I think, is 18 or so now. Probably must have been 10 years old back then. But he talked about some movie he was making this past time at the Comic-Con. Obviously, much different tenor to that now, being his last work. But it's been a tough couple weeks for fans of that sort of thing. Kevin Conroy was a big one that was he died a couple weeks ago from cancer. Of course, huge part of the culture is Batman. And then, my personally, Gallagher was a fan favorite of mine. And anyway, it's been a tough couple weeks for people I was fans of. I don't want to discount anybody's death, but it's tough. It's tough seeing those people you've met and talked to and had conversations with, and you're getting a little piece of their time. I don't want to pretend like we were friends or anything, but you're getting a little piece of their time, and then they're gone, and it hurts a lot of people.
For sure,
sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else before we move on to happier topics?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, let's go ahead and get started on reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have the menu.
Who are you?
Margot. My name is Margot.
I've served many Margos. You're not a Margot. No.
What the fuck does it matter?
It matters because this menu, this guest list, this entire evening has been painstakingly planned, and you are not a part of that plan. And it's spoiling everything. In order to proceed, I have to know where to seat you. With us or with them. It's very important.
And then you'll let me live?
That you live? No. Of course not. Can't you see that? And that'd ruin the menu.
Sorry, that faded to black in there. This is a black comedy, I guess you would call it black comedy satire. It sucks. It the whole thing's kind of given away early by trailers and then that clip, but it's basically a high-end restaurant where the people are going to be subjected to some sort of psychological torture by the chef. Cody, tell us about the menu and what you thought of it.
Yeah, so I first saw this movie, and I kind of mentioned it last month at Fantastic Fest, where I don't remember if it was a proper premiere or not. It might have been like a U.S. premiere or something like that. Maybe it premiered at TIFF or something. But yeah, it was the director Mark Mylod was there, who is pretty well known these days for directing episodes of Succession. And interestingly, it feels like a spiritual connection to Succession in that, it's this movie is a send up of a couple of different things. I think of elite class people. It's a send up of kind of like restaurant culture, and some other things. I've seen a lot of people talk a little bit about how this feels like a darker comedy version of Pig, the Nicolas Cage movie. And I think that's an interesting comparison. I think this one kind of like digs in where Pig didn't quite dig in, where this is very clearly a satire on some of this stuff. And I think that one of the great parts of the movie is the script. I think that some of it is on the nose, and I would say that's a fair criticism if you would to say that it's on the nose. But like I said, it really does a great job of sending up the sort of like restaurant and foodie culture, especially with the design of like some of the courses within the menu. I think a lot of what you get from that side of things comes through Nicholas Holt's character, who I think is one of the two major standouts of the movie. His character is such like a douchebag, and he plays it so well. And I really enjoyed, watching him, kind of like be like that obnoxious foodie, like know it all kind of attitude.
But then also like really simping for
the chef,
Ralph Fiennes, yeah.
Yeah. And then Anya Taylor-Joy sort of serves as sort of the audience kind of auxiliary here, where she's the one that's commenting on how ridiculous the whole thing is, and commenting also on his simping for the for the chef, and kind of complaining about one of the jokes in there is like there's a bread course where there's no bread, and stuff like that. So and then you get like little pieces from the surrounding characters, like you get a send up of like Hollywood culture, in like you get like little bits of satire on like travel shows and stuff like that, and then you get your sort of like what would you call
food
them? Like,
critic?
The food critic bit, which the food critic stuff is good. The guy that she's with, I think, is the thing that makes that connection work. I don't know if he's like an assistant or something like that, or an editor or something. And then you get like your like venture capitalists send up. So like there's little pockets of like different bits of satire. And then you get, I think, what ends up being the best part of the movie, which is Ralph Fiennes, who I think is just in tip-top form in this movie. I find him to be such a compelling actor just in general, in terms of, he can be like super scary, like if you see him in like in Bruges, or even something like this where he's just kind of chilling. Harry Potter.
Hello.
Yeah, as well, I can't say his name, but
J.K. Rowling. Oh wait.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then you can get him like kind of fun in like Grand Budapest Hotel, which I think he's phenomenal in. Is just like kind of like being the funny guy. And here you kind of split the difference, because he is really funny in this movie, largely due to his really great delivery. There's a couple of really great deliveries from him in terms. There's one where he's kind of he's explaining why John Leguizamo's character is there, which I think is a really funny scene. And then like the grand finale final dish, he gives a really funny explanation on some of that stuff. But I found that the satire hits more often than not. I find I think foodie culture is really interesting, and I like watching like TV shows, and I'm interested in food, but I can recognize how silly and ridiculous it all is, and this kind of hits those notes. I really think that it's clever in a lot of stuff. I really like this sort of there's a couple like funny jokes on like the course descriptions that they show on screen that I found really enjoyable. And I think also the food stuff is presented really, really nicely. And then I think that, you're going into the movie knowing that there's going to be some sort of darkness behind the surface. And I actually think it does a good job of delivering on that, even though it's coming. I think that it holds its cards for a while, and then I think the moment where it kind of escalates is like legitimately kind of like surprising. And I like where it goes from there. I do like Anya Taylor-Joy here in her character, but I feel like her character arc is maybe like the least interesting thing about the movie. I think that the payoff to it is perfectly fine, but I think that the satire here is really enjoyable, and I just think that it's a really good, and I think it's a really good time.
Yeah. So have you ever had a meal like that? Like the sort of tasting menu?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Yeah, we've done it twice. We did it at Disneyland at the resort. There's a chef's counter. Then we did it at Disney World. There's a resort, a restaurant at one of the resorts that is like an exclusive place. I don't like the chef culture. I can't stand that. I have a real problem with using chef as like an honorific, like saying yes, chef. Like, go fuck yourself. But
You shouldn't watch The Bear then.
yeah, I've heard The Bear is great. I mean with the sincerity of it. Like the idea that's something like, look, I loved the food. The food was great at the Disneyland one. It was at the Disney, what is it, Grand Californian, and it was a chef's counter. Like the food is great, but you're sitting there watching the chefs, like watching them cook, and it was just like sweaty people yelling at each other, which didn't appeal to me. But man, some of that food is really good. That said, it's fucking ridiculous. And I love that the movie kind of is immediately about how ridiculous this is through Anya Taylor-Joy's character. You get some really good stuff, like you said, with Nicholas Hoult just simping for this chef and being just completely enamored with it. And as it escalates, you see that was party to the escalation. And then the other characters, like the D-bag venture capitalist guys, are fun. John Leguizamo I like in the movie. I don't know that his character gets as fleshed out as it should be. And then there's the character of Ralph Fiennes' character's mother, which I don't quite get.
Yeah.
I feel like the movie is like 85% there. Like I feel like it's good. There's some really wicked jokes, especially in the descriptions of the food at times. I think are really funny. I think after a while, and especially with kind of the resolution for Anya Taylor-Joy's character, I feel like it just sort of shrugs a little bit. Like, cause I don't like the path to where she got is very simple. And I don't feel like it really does the movie, like the script justice for what came before it. Like it feels like feels too easy. When there's some really kind of like really delicious jokes in there. Specifically one, there's a sequence with a Coast Guard officer that ends like on a really crazy note that was really genuinely funny. And again, some other stuff that's really funny, like one of the descriptions there's a dish that Nicholas Holt's character ends up involved in that's really has a great on-screen joke.
Yeah.
It just kind of, by the end, it feels like it doesn't really add up to what I expected from the movie, and which it was disappointing to me. Like I feel like it kind of peters out. But I think Ralph Fiennes is great. I really like Anya Taylor-Joy. I do agree that her character is not terribly interesting, other than to comment on the action. I think Nicholas Hoult is great. And I loved seeing. I mentioned the Sonic guy playing the sommelier.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying about it petering out. I do think that the sort of like finale of it all is interesting and funny and really dark, in terms of like we'll just say like the final course of everything. But I do think that the one thing I do agree on is just kind of like the resolution for her character feels somewhat unearned, I think, especially in her relation to everyone else there. and kind of like she, the idea is that she doesn't quite fit. Everyone else is kind of in the same kind of realm, and she doesn't fit. But I don't know. I mean, I think again, there's a lot to like here, even if the narrative doesn't fully. It's failed by the narrative, not like anything else there, not by like the dialogue or the jokes or the satire. It's really the narrative that falls a little bit short. Like even understanding some of the I guess the reasons why Ray Fiennes' character is doing what he's doing as well is not fully fleshed out either, I don't think. So I think the narrative is like the weakest point here, and like everything in between, like again, acting, satire, dialogue is really strong. I just wish the narrative was stronger.
Yeah, going back to Ray Fiennes' motive, I don't really feel like everybody fits the mold. Like I feel like some of the characters aren't fleshed out enough for that to be, I guess, to feel like there's a comeuppance.
I get that, but also it's hard for me to fully get on board with that because it does pay off with the John Leguizamo comeuppance and his reason behind that, which I found to be very, very funny. And so I feel like just in that sense, it kind of pays off a bit. But I don't know.
I mean, again, I liked the movie overall. I just feel like it's not fully there. Like it's a little undercooked. I'm gonna keep doing it as long as we. I
don't like it, but
okay. Well,
whatever.
It's I'm the chef here.
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. Anyway, what's your grade for the menu, Cody?
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on a B or a B plus, and coming out of Fantastic Fest, I was at a B plus. I think upon revisit, because I did see it again last night, or 2 nights ago, I'm gonna give it a really solid B. I don't think it's like I was telling someone earlier, I don't think it's top 10 material, but I do think it's one of maybe the best 15 movies I've seen this year. So really solid.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a B also. Despite my problems with it, I still really enjoyed it. I felt it's always weird seeing a movie totally alone in a theater, and that's that was the case yesterday. And I found myself laughing out loud, which is not something I do normally when I'm alone in a theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's way sharper at times than I expected. It's just when it kind of wraps up is where it disappointed me. I don't want to say it failed or it doesn't work, but it feels a little too unearned. All right, let's move on to our next movie, She Said.
Why is sexual harassment so pervasive and so hard to address? Let's interrogate the whole system.
Hi, my name is Jodi Cantor. I'm an investigative reporter for the New York Times.
What have you got?
I was told that the wrongdoing in Hollywood is overwhelming.
I don't want to be quoted. Period.
Understood.
In your previous stories,
how did you persuade women to tell you what had happened to them?
The case I made was, I can't change what happened to you in the past, but together we may be able to help protect other people. The truth, basically. What is it exactly that we're looking at here?
These young women walked into what they all had reason to believe were business meetings.
I can still see it, the hotel room, the floor plan. He kept trying to touch me.
I asked him to leave me alone.
Instead, they say he met them with threats and sexual demands.
I was young, scared.
Hi, we're from the New York Times. I believe you used to work for Harvey Weinstein.
Now, I didn't see this, but you did. This is clearly a film about Harvey Weinstein.
Mm-hmm.
Did he do something wrong?
Oh, you should.
I didn't see the movie.
Read the news.
Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cody, tell us about She Said.
Yeah. So She Said is basically a retelling of it's an investigative journalism movie, right? So it's told from the perspective of a couple of New York Times reporters who essentially break the story about Harvey Weinstein, which, after the story was broken, led to, the Me Too movement entirely, as well as criminal charges and convictions, and now Harvey Weinstein is rotting in jail for crimes he committed against women. So it is a retelling of that, and interesting to tell something that is essentially like less than a decade old. Within the last 5 or 6 years is.
Oh God, I thought it was like the last 3 years.
I don't
know when he was sentenced. I mean, the time is a mush right now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So it was in 2017 was the initial tip from Rose McGowan, and that kind of spawned everything. So. The Times published a story on October 5th, 2017. So 5 years ago.
Jesus Christ. Time is really just a mush now.
I know.
It really does seem like it happened like a year ago.
Yeah, and I think maybe like the sentencing happened maybe a year ago, but yeah, he's serving a 23-year sentence with charges pending in other states. But yeah, so it is an investigative journalism movie, and I think the closest analog I can provide is that it really unfolds a lot like Spotlight. It's very similar to the movie Spotlight, where you follow these reporters meeting with like different people, and I think it does a great job in its interview scenes of kind of displaying the sort of power dynamic piece that was sort of like the crux, aside from the crimes themselves, of the Me Too movement, which was like power dynamics of men in these positions in Hollywood, and people being afraid to speak up, which is why Harvey Weinstein essentially got away with this for so many years, is because people were afraid. He was the most powerful, or one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. And so throughout this you see clear intimidations, you see the sort of like like payoffs, and so you see NDAs come into effect, and that's another reason why people couldn't speak up about it. And then you see the courage that it took to kind of either blow by an NDA or just to kind of speak up and put names out there. There is like a cameo, like Ashley Judd plays herself in the movie, who was one of the most sort of like verbal and vocal accusers. And so it unfolds a lot like Spotlight. I would say, though there are good performances from people like Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan, it's one of those movies where there's not one thing about it that is incredible or great, but as a collection, as a movie as a whole, it's really good. And I feel like it's like, and I kind of felt that way about Spotlight too, where there's a couple of really good performances in it. I think the one that sticks out to me the most in Spotlight is Mark Ruffalo,
right?
Who I thought was really great in Spotlight, but there's not one magnetic performance. There's not one like super incredible scene. There's not the script isn't like particularly like amazing or anything, but everything is just really, really solid. I happen to really like investigative journalism movies, so I might be a little bit of like, this is like catnip for me a little bit, but I think that it does exactly what it sets out to do, which is to tell a story in a really accurate and authentic way, making you empathetic towards these stories, to see the significance of not only the reporting, but the women who came forward and the movement that it spawned. And so I think it's just a really, really good movie.
So I've heard, and I read some reviews, that it may be, if you followed this story, and this is one of the problems I've had with films like this before too. Mm-hmm. Like if you followed this story, it's not telling you anything new.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think maybe like on an individualistic level, you get like more individual stories, and also too, I don't know how closely people follow stuff like that. Like, and that's where we've had conversations about this in the past, like on documentaries and stuff, where you worked in news for so long, so you were really keen on, you had a keen sense of awareness of the details and the stuff, so nothing was revelatory to you. I don't know how that applies to like the general audience. So if someone just sees a story that like, oh, Harvey Weinstein has been accused by X amount of women and then he got sentenced, they may not know the details of the stories, what he actually did, the details of the crimes, all of that stuff. And so It's hard to say because I think that's an individual thing. You know, I did see some criticism say like it's essentially like a Wikipedia entry come to life, which sure, I guess, but you know, for me personally, I don't think that, you know, I'm unbothered by that stuff. I don't need, especially in a narrative movie, I don't need revelations. It's not a documentary. I'm not watching it to get information. I'm watching to have the story be told to me. So in that sense, that was not something that affected my enjoyment of the movie.
Okay, what's your grade for She Said, Cody?
I give it a really solid B+. I would, you know, I really wanted to give it an A- coming out of the movie just because it's what I thought as a collection. But, you know, when it's put under the microscope, there isn't any like one element that I can point to that sends it into that sphere. That being said, if you like investigative journalism movies, if you like the movie Spotlight, this is really, really good.
Cool. All right. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. There we go. All right. That's going to do it for this week. Next week, Cody, we've got some big movies coming out.
Yeah.
First up, we have The Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, which both you and I have seen.
Yes.
We have The Fabelmans, which you and I are seeing in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
I assume your screening is at 7:30. So
it is.
And then we'll probably cover it's Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which I was surprised to see how short it was. I haven't watched it yet, but it's 42 minutes long.
Wow.
So it's like an episode of an hour-long TV show. So yeah, anything else next week? We're going to have a show pretty early for you this week before Thanksgiving, so.
Yeah, there's stuff that comes out. I don't think we'll get to it. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to see these movies, but
I don't have time before we're going to record this show.
Yeah, but there's like Strange World, the new Disney movie opens.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that. Also, I skipped the screening because it was too early in the morning after Friday night, but zero promotion for this movie. And
Very
it's
strange.
Baffling. It is baffling to me. I've seen more promotion for fucking Disenchanted on Disney Plus than I have for this theatrical movie hitting at Thanksgiving.
And you know what's funny about it is that I don't know if you remember the initial teaser trailer for it, but it was like a really cool, like old movie style teaser trailer that I thought was really effective. But this movie, Disney seems keen to just dump this movie and forget it.
Yeah, and it is also one of the long line of Disney's first openly gay character proclamations, which I remember as far back as Beauty and the Beast with the LeFou character played by Josh Gad, but Disney doesn't quite have a good handle on this, I don't think.
No, it's usually some like off-screen blink and you miss it reference, like Lightyear 2 was like one scene of like a wedge door open, and then
and then the Onward with who played the character like the police is like a lion or something.
Oh, God,
like pulled him over. Mentioned a wife. It was a female character mentioning a wife.
I wish they would stop patting themselves on the back for these it's nothing. It's literally nothing.
Especially when something like Mitchell's versus the Machines just had a character that and that was just the character. Like wasn't like a line of dialogue. Going back to was it one of the Russo brothers in Endgame that was in the support group that talked about having a husband? Like, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah,
with your horseshit representation.
I know, it's so stupid. At some point, you would think that they would actually commit to telling a story with a character where it wasn't like it was an actual thing, like it was part of the character design, or if it was part of the story. Or
the closest they've gotten is Brian Tyree Henry in The Eternals, but that movie stunk.
Oh yeah,
and no one remembers anything about it. It is baffling to me how buried this movie is. I mean, maybe it just sucks. I don't know. Maybe it's just not a good movie. But there's zero promotion for a Disney movie that's being released on a holiday weekend. Baffling to me.
There's some other stuff that comes out. I mean, I've seen Bones and All.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that.
And then there's the movie Devotion, which is the second Powell pilot movie of the year.
Yeah. Did you see, by the way, that like cracking the box office top 10 this past week was a like episode of some Jesus-y TV show?
Yeah.
What's going on in this country?
Yeah, it was like episodes 1 and 2 of, what was it called?
It's called Chosen.
Chosen.
Devotion made me think of that. I know it's not the same thing, but
yeah.
Who's in that? Who's in Devotion? Is it it's not shit. It's Glenn Powell and who else?
Jonathan Majors.
Oh yeah. Who's gonna have a huge year next year?
Yeah, he's in, like, if you go to the theater right now, he's in like 4 trailers.
I know I've only seen the Creed 3 and Ant-Man Quantumania. I haven't seen what else he's. Oh well, I guess Devotion.
Devotion, yeah.
Yeah. All right. If you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. Find us on Twitter @cinesnob, Facebook CineSnobNet, or Critic. Fuck, I forget every single time. YouTube.com/cinesnob.
Can you find us on
Mastodon?
Mastodon, or what's the other one? I can't remember.
Truth
Hive?
Social.
Hive.
We're on Why don't we have we secured a Truth Social account? Should we just go there and post like innocuous shit?
Boy.
What was the other one? Parler?
Oh, Parler, yeah.
Isn't there
wasn't Kanye gonna buy Parler?
I don't know. He's back on Twitter. Twitter is a shit show.
Did you see that? Like, I saw it alluded to that Trump has been reinstated, but he has a contract with Truth Social to where I don't think he's allowed in his contract to post on Twitter or something.
I've heard that. I mean, Elon Musk is thirsty as hell for Trump to come back because that would put people back on Twitter, for real.
And now Elon is just shit posting, basically, just posting memes and stuff.
Dude, I didn't think Twitter could get worse, but it has.
And
it's so, I told you, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe we talked about it on here. I curated my feed to just get the shit that I wanted, and now other crap is leaking in.
Yeah.
I'll get and the blue check thing is really fucked things up because I'm like, what? This is wait. I click on it, this person paid for it. And then I see in their bio, it's hashtag Bitcoin, hashtag Elon. Oh, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you, you fucking bootlicking dipshit.
Well, what I was really worried about was that the fake Woj accounts, like messing with people for sports news and stuff like that.
That got locked down pretty quickly, I think, or at least the joke petered out.
Yeah, but the whole idea was that he was going to hire a team of people to root out imposters, which again, if someone wants to spend $80 to fuck with someone, it's a small price to pay to create havoc on the internet.
Sure. I mean, and God bless them for doing it. Because that was some 2 or 3 of the funniest fucking days on Twitter.
Oh, it was amazing.
Hands down. But the real problem now is seeing something posted from some rando blue checkmark person. And you're like, well, shit, this person, because your brain is still hardwired for that shorthand of the code of the blue checkmark being this is something real, and then you click on oh no, wait a minute, this is just some fuck.
Yeah,
just some fuck that paid for it. Anyway,
stupid.
But yeah, find us on Truth Social. Oh, and Rumble. That was the real shithole one.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah.
They didn't share your data for January 6th.
Oh. Good.
Maybe they did. I don't know. Did you see that, by the way, going back to Twitter, that Elon Musk's hard line is Alex Jones?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Which is, I guess, commendable that there is a line. But the reason his hard line is there is because Elon Musk, his first kid, his first child died of SIDS, and that's his hard line because something personal happened to him. So much for being a free speech absolutist.
Oh yeah.
It's all horse shit. But hey, I'm glad Alex Jones isn't coming back because fuck that guy. But anyway,
indeed.
Hopefully this doesn't lose us viewers. I mean, I don't give a shit. If you love Alex Jones, go fuck yourself. So
yeah, no, I don't. I am not worried about alienating the crossover we have with Alex Jones listeners.
Wouldn't that be weird if it was 100%? The Venn diagram was just a circle. Fuck, how did that happen? Because there has to be somebody who's a huge Alex Jones fan, and then a huge just something dumb, like they really like Friends.
Yeah,
or something something just totally vanilla.
So it's got to be out there.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we go?
No, we'll be back. I think we haven't talked about it, but we'll probably post our Thanksgiving show on Friday, maybe like on Black Friday or something.
I don't know. We got to get it in time for people to actually go see Knives Out in theaters. So we got to figure that out.
That comes out Wednesday. Yeah, we may be back soon.
Yeah. All right. On that note, I am Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.